So for the question, how did the woman in this play differ from trans women you've seen portrayed elsewhere? In particular, for the character Eden, she was born intersex and her gender was essentially determined for her just because her parents wanted a son. And I was really shocked to learn about her journey as a transgender woman just because I didn't even know such procedures could be done on a child who can't consent or even have a good grasp of what their identity is. And so I've only heard of or seen women who were just born male and then transitioned into being female, but I had never heard of a case where someone born intersex had their gender decided for them and then transitioning to being a woman. And for the question, what surprised me the most, I was surprised how similar yet different each person's stories were. Some people continued to marry and have kids, and didn't transition through that time. Some people even experienced homelessness because of the rejection from their family, and some never didn't transition but cross-dressed to express their identity. I was also surprised that some of the women use other people's birth control to imitate hormone replacement treatment. I've never heard of birth control being used instead of hormone replacement or treatment, but considering just how expensive and inaccessible HRT can be, it makes sense that people would go to such lengths to use medication to try to feel more comfortable in their bodies. And I learned from the play that to transition, a lot of trans women have to contact very sketchy doctors or people that will perform dangerous treatments to change physical appearance. So some trans women would go to doctors who inject silicone into their bodies, which I know can be very dangerous. And as a pre-med major, I hope there's more education given to doctors about how to treat trans patients. And also, I hope that there's more just education in general to the trans community that these procedures can be dangerous. But I do understand that a lot of times people just are trying to get a procedure that will make them more comfortable and will go to those lengths. And for the question, how might you act differently when meeting a trans person as a result of the play? I would say even before reading this play, I always try to respect the identities of trans people, follow the pronouns they asked people to use, and respect their identity. But I think one thing I would change is just always remembering in the back of my mind to be really empathetic when meeting them, and also not just putting them in one group. All of them have such unique experiences with being transgender, and a lot of them have gone through a lot of traumatic events and have different histories. So it's important to always remember that, to see people for like their individuality. And also, one thing to remember is like not everyone is able to go through a physical transition or a hormone replacement transition just because of how inaccessible it is. So just because a trans woman doesn't look like a woman in terms of society's standards, they can still identify as being trans woman. And how do you think you could be a better ally to the trans community? I can be a better ally to the trans community by learning more stories of trans people and being aware of the various state and federal bills that are trying to be passed by politicians that impede on trans people's rights. I think it's really important to educate on trans people's rights, and also just because trans people are such a marginalized community, it's important to be very active and outwardly supportive of the trans community on social media as well.